Chapter 5. Second round of pilgrimage. I stood spellbound with folded hands and head bowed down before them. Gurudev conveyed my aspiration, resolve, and zeal to them indirectly in Paravani and said, he does not lack life transforming energy. He will do whatever he promises to do. Kindly indicate how the seeds of the tasks left unfinished by you are to be sown. If manuring, watering, etc. is done by us, his efforts will not be in vain. Thereafter, Gurudev invited them all to attend in astral bodies the Purnahuti of Sahasrakundi Gayatri Yagya, which was to be performed at Mathura on the completion of Gayatri Mahapurashcharans in the year 1958, and pointing towards me said, he is a monkey but Hanuman, a bear but Jamvant, a vulture but Jatayu. Kindly direct him and rest assured that what has been left unfinished will be completed and the sapling will grow up into a huge tree. He further said, why should we be disappointed? Why should we not rely on him when he had discharged with great devotion responsibilities which were entrusted to him during his past births? This talk was going on with one of the rishis, but hardly did it take a moment for this invitation to reach them all, and they gathered together. Disappointment disappeared, hope was revived, and future program was chalked out. It was resolved that seedlings of divine tasks that the rishis had been doing be sown again in a field, a nursery of fragrant flowers of divine aims and purposes be nurtured and then transplanted all over the globe so that the world blooms again with divine fragrance. This was the scheme of building Shanti Kunj, which was to be undertaken after conclusion of my stay at Mathura. The schemes of building Gayatri Nagar and raising the structure of Brahmavarchas Shodh Sansthan Research Institute were also explained in detail. Each and every word which I was told was engraved on my mental canvas, and I decided that soon after completion of 24 Gayatri Purashcharans of 24 lakhs each, I would prepare an outline of this work. It was impossible that a person who was recipient of Gurudev's protection and patronage could ever be unsuccessful. I stayed for a day more. Explaining in detail about the Purnahuti of Purashcharans, Gurudev said, I have been closely observing all the events and activities of the past few years of your life and rectifying the lapses, if any. I called you this time to explain you the plans for the future. There is not much time now left for completion of your Purashcharans. Go to Mathura, complete them, and start the second phase of your life from Mathura. Next to Prayag, Mathura is a central place in the country. It is convenient from the point of view of communication. After independence, your political activities will be over, but the work towards the fulfillment of your life's primary mission will continue. Political restructuring is bound to be there. Government will look after the economic restructuring and other allied matters, but 3 more transformations will have to be initiated through the agency of moral and spiritual movements. The country became enslaved and weak, not because there was paucity of brave persons who could defeat the aggressors. Internal strife and weaknesses were responsible for the downfall and degeneration of the country. Others had only taken advantage of these shortcomings. Moral, intellectual, and social transformations are to be accomplished. For this, it is necessary to gather around you a band of dedicated and awakened persons and to explain to them the highlights of the work to be done. So, leave your village and go to Mathura, hire a small house there, and publish a monthly magazine, and also publish material relating to these 3 kinds of transformations. In due course, you have to build a grand Gayatri temple near Mathura in the land where Durvasa Rishi had performed sadhana and make arrangements for the board and lodging of your colleagues. Then you have to perform a Mahayagya after the completion of 24 Mahapurusharans by way of Purnahuti. It has always been the tradition in Anushtans to perform Yagya along with the Jap. After completion of 24 Anushtans, each of 24 lakhs of Jap, you have to celebrate a Mahayagya in the Yagyashala comprising of 1000 kunds and offer 24 lakh ahutis. On that occasion, foundations of a huge organization will be laid, which will initiate the work of mass awakening through the agency of moral and spiritual movements. This is the first phase of the completion of Anushtan. After discharging this responsibility, you have to go to Sapt Sarovar Haridwar, live there, and complete the work of revival of Rishi traditions for which you have given your word to the Rishis. Gurudev explained in detail how the work at Mathura was to be done. He also indicated the outline of the work of translation of ancient scriptures, their publication and publicity, and setting up of an organization of Gayatri Parivar. I had assured Gurudev in my very first meeting with him that nothing would be left undone to carry out his directions. How were the needs of money and manpower to be met for the accomplishment of so huge task? Gurudev read my mind, laughed and said, "Do not worry about these material and human resources. Start sowing whatever you possess. Its harvest will be 100-fold. All the tasks which have been entrusted to you will be fulfilled." Gurudev himself indicated to me what I possessed, how and when it was to be sown, and how and when it would yield the rich harvest. I kept everything which Gurudev said firmly in my mind. There was no question of forgetting it. How could a soldier forget the command of his general? I could not neglect or disregard what I was asked to do. Our interaction concluded. This time I was directed to stay in the Himalayas only for 6 months. All necessary arrangements were made for my stay. Gurudev's Veerbhadra left me at Gomukh. I reached the indicated destination and stayed there for 6 months. When I returned home, my health was much better. My happiness and earnestness had increased. It was reflected on my face. People started saying that there was some heaven of happiness and comfort in the Himalayas, to which I periodically retired and from which I returned every time far more healthier and happier. I now prepared to shift to Mathura. I had visited Mathura once but did not know anybody there. There was great scarcity of houses in those days at Mathura. I went in search of a small house suitable for the publication of Akhand Jyoti. After considerable search, I found a house in Ghiyawandi which was lying vacant for quite a long time. The landlady was an old woman. When I asked about the rent, she said it was 15 rupees per month. She handed over the key of the house to me. I went inside and found that in all there were 15 rooms in it. Although the house was in a dilapidated condition, it was not costly from my point of view. I paid 1 month's rent in advance. The landlady was extremely happy. I went to my village, brought my family and luggage and started living in it. There was some whispering in the whole locality as if my decision to live in this house was a matter of astonishment. On inquiry, I was told this was a house haunted by ghosts. Whosoever had come to live in it had suffered loss of life and property, and nobody could stay here long. I was told that being an outsider, I had been befooled because nobody could have rented out such a huge 3-storied house having 15 rooms for a paltry monthly salary of rupees 15. I was warned that I would be harmed. I decided to continue living in that house because so cheap, spacious and useful accommodation could not be had elsewhere. It turned out to be true that the house was haunted by evil spirits. There was tumult and turmoil throughout the first night on the roof of the house, and shrieking sounds of jesting, wagging, weeping, and fighting were heard. There was no electricity in the house. I took lantern and went up and saw some shadowy male and female figures running away. I could not meet them. They did not harm me. This continued for about 10 days. One night I went up at about 1 a.m. with a lantern in my hand and I asked the shadowy figures to stop. They stopped. I told them, "You have been living in this house for quite a long time. Let us come to a gentlemanly compromise. You may live in 7 rooms on the top floor and we will stay in the remaining 8 rooms. Thus you will not be inconvenienced. We will also not be bothered." Nobody replied, although they remained standing. From the next day, everything changed. On my part, I complied with the terms of the compromise. They also appeared to be agreeable to the arrangements. Sounds of some movement on the roof were no doubt heard sometimes, but there was no mischief or disturbance which could upset our sleep, frighten the children, or cause any obstruction in the work. I got the damaged portion of the house repaired at my cost. Publication of Akhand Jyoti was again started from this house. I started corresponding with Parijans and associates from here. The first year itself, about 2,000 subscribers were enrolled. I used to write letters to them and invited them for personal contacts. I used to study while going for a walk for 2 hours daily. My Anushthan continued in my small room of worship. In place of political work relating to Indian National Congress, I speeded up my writing work. My pen started moving in writing books and articles for Akhand Jyoti and translating ancient sacred Sanskrit texts for educating the masses through the medium of moral and spiritual instruction. Akhand Jyoti was printed in my own hand-operated press. This routine went on, but I was worried throughout how money and manpower would be arranged to accomplish the huge task of publication, installation of the press, building Gayatri Tapobhumi, and performing a huge yajna which had not been performed since after the Mahabharata. For this, the message of Gurudev, "Sow and reap," used to appear before my open eyes often. This message was now to be materialized in the field of society. I had to become a true Brahman devoid of all possessions, that is, aparigrahi. My mind started constantly visualizing the outline for the achievement of this noble aim. My life, its legacy and message. हमारी वसीयत और विरासत. Author Sri Ram Sharma Acharya.
If you found this video helpful, then please like, comment and share it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel Rishi Chintan. Please press the bell icon so that you will receive notifications of our upcoming videos. Thank you.